If you've been following any news about the games industry in the past few years, you'll likely have heard a few rumblings about mass layoffs. Since 2022, thousands of people from multiple gaming companies have been let go. Heck, in some cases, entire studios have been closed down, with projects binned off, often with no notice, no matter how much Xbox executives said they loved that project or how close to release it was. Sorry if you were looking forward to that Perfect Dark reboot, its development studio doesn't exist anymore. However, a group of people who are not worrying about their next paycheck are the CEOs of these companies, often the ones who made the bad managerial decisions that led to these layoffs, according to some industry analysts. After seeing gaming surge in popularity during the pandemic lockdowns, game companies started hiring like mad, seemingly not thinking about what would happen when everyone was allowed to go outside again. But even if you're a game development professional spared from a huge workforce cull, that doesn't mean you're not still getting shafted. Recently, while perusing Blue Sky, I came by an article over at GameFile, a news site run by journalist Stephen Totilo. Here, Totilo not only shared the widely reported news of how EA CEO Andrew Wilson's pay went up by $5 million in the financial year ending March 2025, while his staff's average pay went down, but he also created a couple of very interesting graphs comparing Wilson's pay with the median pay of his employees over the last few years. In the first graph, truncated to look normal on screen, the average employee pay just looks like a flat line along zero because Wilson's pay skews the graph to a frankly diabolical extent. The second graph was not so truncated, forcing anyone on the page to scroll for a sarcastically long time. It just keeps going. As I first scrolled down this graph, I found it so hilariously depressing that it inspired me to look up some other companies who had mass layoffs over the last few years and see if I could find the same information for their CEOs. Turns out, yes, at least for some of them, specifically the American publicly traded ones. Publicly traded companies must follow certain regulations, and if they are based in the USA, as part of those regulations, they must submit a proxy statement to the US Securities and Exchange Commission. Basically, this is a document for shareholders that contains information they need to know and might need to vote on, and is often shared at an annual general meeting, aka an AGM. AKA that random day when your office rents out a university lecture hall and shows you more graphs and charts than anyone actually at that university will ever see in their lifetime. As of 2015, one of the rules for proxy statements is that not only should the CEO's pay be shown, but also the pay ratio. That is, the ratio comparing the CEO's pay with the median pay of their employees. This is likely because CEO pay has skyrocketed since the late 80s, especially compared to the average worker's pay. According to the Economic Policy Institute, US CEO pay has gone up by 1,085% since 1978, but workers' pay has gone up by just 24%. So the pay ratio between CEOs and workers in the US went from 21 to 1 in 1965 to 290 to 1 in 2023, meaning that the average CEO pay in America is now 290 times more than their average worker. That's a big old jump. I managed to find these ratios for 4 publicly traded gaming companies, including EA, who engaged in mass layoffs in the last few years. So to satisfy my curiosity, let's have a look. In April 2025, a total of around 100 people were made redundant from EA Studio Respawn, as well as a further 200 let go from EA itself. And who oversaw this? Andrew Wilson. He may look like Robbie Rotten's long-lost cousin, but Andrew Wilson is an important businessman who took the helm at EA way back in 2013. If you were following big game reveals in the 2010s, you will likely know Wilson as the regular host of EA's showcases at E3 and later EA Play. This man is EA through and through, joining the company in 2000 and working his way up to executive producer on the FIFA series before becoming the executive vice president of EA Sports. It's in the game. Sorry, that's just a reflex now. Just 2 years after that, in April 2013, Wilson became the CEO of EA, and since then the stock price has skyrocketed, making shareholders very happy. Also, that means any shares he gets paid in are even more of a bonus. That's nice for him. But while Wilson and his shareholders are making bank, how well are Wilson's remaining employees faring? Well, while Andrew Wilson made over $31 million last financial year, the median wage of his workers was $117,302, which is also around $28,000 less than the previous year. So currently Wilson is making 260 times the amount of his average worker. But hey, maybe he deserves that. After all, a lot has happened at the company. 900 people were laid off in 2013, in the same month that Wilson was made CEO, and Visceral Studios got shut down in 2017, adding to the pile of dead studios at EA's feet. And I mean, 2025's EA's layoffs were mainly in fan care, customer service, and marketing. But surely fan care's a fine place to make cuts. They must be tired of answering emails from Star Wars Battlefront 2 players angry about microtransactions. Although the Star Wars owning Disney must have forgotten that entire Battlefront 2 microtransaction fiasco, as apparently they have been sniffing around Andrew Wilson's door as they look for a replacement to their CEO Bob Iger, whose contract ends in 2026.
Sector is clear. Not clear! Not clear!
Hope Disney Park attendees like microtransactions on top of souvenirs, fast passes, and a million different flavours of churro. Damn, they've already got me by the throat. Microsoft is no stranger to restructuring, laying off huge swathes of its workforce more often than it tries to get you to update its next version of Windows. I'll get to it, okay? In January 2023, nearly 10,000 workers were let go from Microsoft, reportedly hitting Xbox-owned studios like the Coalition and Bethesda Games pretty hard, plus at least 95 people from current Halo developer 343 Industries. In 2024, Xbox laid off 1,900 employees, shuttering multiple studios, including newly acquired Dishonored 1 co-developers Arcane Austin and Hi-Fi Rush creators Tango Gameworks. The latter thankfully avoided closure after being scooped up by PUBG's publisher Krafton. And in June 2025, right before the end of its fiscal year, Microsoft axed around 9,000 roles specifically across Xbox, on top of another general Microsoft 6,000 job cull in May. And who avoided getting hit by all those redundancies? CEO Satya Nadella, which, considering his salary, is wild. Spoilers, they could be saving a lot. Like Wilson, Nadella has worked at the company he runs for a long time, joining Microsoft in 1992. As an engineer, Nadella bounced around various departments within the company, his most notable work being that of moving Microsoft over to cloud technology, before he was eventually made the third ever CEO of Microsoft in 2014. His initial salary was $918,000 a year, a $7 million stock award, and a $3.6 million cash bonus. To him, $3.6 million is a cash bonus. To a lot of other people, that's buying a house outright and being set for life. But what's he getting paid now? Is it in line with inflation? Well, if we peek inside Microsoft's 2024 proxy statement, we can see it was revealed that Nadella's total compensation for that year was $79,106,183. Yeah, that's a bit bigger than the $11.5 million package he had 10 years earlier. And what is the median pay of Nadella's at-risk workforce? It's a fairly healthy-looking $193,744, the highest of any of the companies we'll be covering in this video. But even with that, Nadella's income is so comically huge that the pay ratio is a staggering 408-to-1. That means that Nadella gets paid more per day than his average worker does in one entire year. And if you want another visualization, after hunting these numbers down, I discovered that Stephen Totilo also made a graph for Nadella's average wages over the last few years compared to his staff, and yes, it's just as comically long as the one for EA's Andrew Wilson. Sadly, the Microsoft proxy statement doesn't go into the details of other subdivisions of the company, so I can't find figures for Xbox specifically.
Although, if you take the supposed Xbox Game Studios median wage going by this salary analysing site, $108,127 in 2025, far less than Microsoft's average, and compare it with Nadella's again, you get a jaw-dropping ratio of 732-to-1.
Is he doing 732 times more work? Press X to doubt. You most likely know Take-Two Interactive as the publisher of the Grand Theft Auto series, minus Grand Theft Auto 6. That one's still not out yet. In April 2024, Take-Two decided to reduce their workforce by 5%, resulting in around 600 job losses by the end of the year and several cancelled games. But not GTA 6, even if it feels like it at this point. In that same year of turmoil, what was CEO Strauss Zelnick being paid compared to his workforce? According to the SEC filings, Zelnick was paid a rather demure and mindful income of $274,074. The average Take-Two employee took home $69,783, far less than the averages of the other companies in this video, but that does make some sense when the CEO is being paid a far lower sum than his fellow CEOs. Except, no, he's not. See, another number included in Take-Two's proxy statement is one that includes extra incentive payments for meeting various goals, as explained in the, quote, compensation discussion and analysis detailed discussion and analysis compensation to Executive Chairman and CEO and President Fiscal 2024 fees and incentives to ZMC section of this proxy statement. Yeah, that's totally clear to me now and not just a word vomit of business nonsense. To put that in an actual human language, Zelnick hit some goals set for him during that business year and because of that, got paid an extra $26,245,200. Without that extra $26 million, Zelnick's ratio compared to his workers would be a seemingly humble 3.93 to 1. But with those extra payouts, his total income is $26,519,274, bringing the actual pay ratio to 380 to 1. But do have some sympathy for Paul Zelnick, as that was far less than he was paid in 2023, which was a whopping $43,525,445, 578 times that of his workers' median pay of $75,276. So wait, the CEO to worker pay ratio in 2024 was lower, but so was the average worker pay by over $5,000. Thanks, I hate it. We can take some solace in the fact that it'll be at least next year before Zelnick can get that huge GTA 6 bonus payout from all of Rockstar Games' hard work. Or maybe the year after that? Look, I'll believe the game exists when I'm holding it in my hands. It's not just people who make games who have been affected by layoffs, but also people who make the things that help people make games. If you've ever taken a look at the logos on a boot-up screen, you may be familiar with Unity. The game engine powers a wide variety of titles like Honking Simulator Untitled Goose Game, Hard as Nails Run and Gunner Cuphead, and VR darling Beat Saber. Also some truly terrible Unity-built asset flips that have completely swamped Steam and various console storefronts, but hey, we like the honky goose times, and Among Us! Since 2022, Unity has laid off more than 3,200 employees, with the largest cull being in January 2024 of around 1,800 people, aka 25% of its entire workforce. Yeah, I don't think that's what's meant by a quarterly review. During this time, Unity had not one, but two different CEOs. First is interim CEO James Whitehurst, who stepped in after the previous CEO, John Riccitiello, stepped down in October 2023. Why? Because Unity completely effed up their new pricing strategy and royally pissed off developers and basically everyone else in the industry. Well, I suppose that did bring a kind of unity. Not the one they wanted, but hey. Still, unlike other roles lower down the corporate ladder, CEOs always get replaced. So, in May 2024, after Whitehurst's interim stint, came Matthew Bromberg, ex-Zynga Chief Operating Officer and a holder of multiple high-level roles at EA, including Group General Manager of BioWare from 2013 to 2016. Tail end of Dragon Age Inquisition development, most of the development time of Mass Effect Andromeda. For their 2025 proxy statement, Unity helpfully unified the CEO pay for both acting CEOs into a single amount earned between them for that fiscal year. That amount, $52,562,201. That extra $1 was a tip. But what about workers at Unity? Well, the average employee was paid $130,532, making the pay ratio between CEO level and the people working for them 403 to 1. So let's look at these numbers all together. Funnily enough, and I don't mean ha-ha funny, despite being the one to inspire this video, Andrew Wilson actually has the lowest CEO to worker pay ratio of any other CEO on this list. These ratios represent a bewildering disparity between chief execs and workers at the same businesses. I understand that a CEO does an important job steering the company they run, and companies have to attract and retain these high flyers with big bucks. But I just think it's interesting in the context of mass layoffs, ostensibly the result of management by these very CEOs, that Strauss Zelnick, for instance, gets paid $100,000 to turn up to work each day, while someone at his company who makes 380 times less might be fired at any moment. For an added bit of context as to how wild these ratios are, in the UK it was recently reported that the ratio for a FTSE 350 company, meaning the 350 top companies on the UK stock exchange, is on average 52-1. And in spite of mass layoffs, these companies are far from sinking. EA had a gross profit of $5.92 billion last year, Microsoft made $70 billion just in the first quarter of this year, and Take-Two pocketed $5.65 billion in the 2025 fiscal year. Unity wasn't so great with a net loss of $78 million. Oh, that's the sound of Unreal Engine popping champagne corks and eating Unity's lunch. But investors want to see the money they invest get bigger, so rather than merely being profitable, companies must grow, so as to offer a return on investment to anyone buying into their company. So, thanks to financial incentives set by stakeholders, CEOs are incentivized to endlessly grow their businesses on a planet that is undeniably finite. To achieve that, executives will cut back on things that might already be profitable, cut back on people doing the real grunt work of making things and providing services purely to chase the next area of major growth. For many of the businesses we've just looked at, that's AI. EA execs now describe AI as the very core of our business. Microsoft's using a lot of the savings from staff culls to fund their huge investment in AI. Take-Two CEO Zelnick thinks that AI is just a tool that could increase employment, and Unity has its own AI products for developers to use. Yes, many people have worried that AI would put people's jobs at risk, and now it actually seems to be doing that. Perhaps not always like for like, but in order to restructure their business to chase the newest trend. Going by how the AI result on my Google searches is wrong approximately 90% of the time, I'm not sure how sound an investment that is. But even if it is a sound investment, I'm not sure that it's worth all the jobs lost in company restructures and the cool creative projects those people were hoping to bring to life. So those were the pay ratios for just 4 of the many companies that have been laying people off in the last 4 years. It's interesting numbers there. How interesting did you find those numbers? Let us know in the comments below. And also, if you got paid that much, what would you do with the money? Let me know. I think I would just live at Disneyland. I would just take my family and we'd just go live there in the castle. They can't stop me. I'd have so much. I'd buy all the churros and hand them out for free. But yeah, let us know what you would do in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up. Please subscribe because we do more videos like this. And you'll want to, hopefully have YouTube tell you about them. Yeah, maybe. Sometimes YouTube does that. Sometimes not. Very well. But if you want to watch more stuff from us, we've got some videos here. If you want to support us further, we also have a Patreon where you can join the Discord and chat to other lovely members of the OX Supporters Club who are very sweet. But in the meantime, take care and we'll see you on the next video. Bye!